Hello.
I just don't care so very much about my country and my state and people and people that are hurting, and I just wish I were out there being able to help people, and I enjoyed teaching school, and I enjoyed my time in the military. And
what exactly did you do in the military? Can you start with that? What did you do in the military? What exactly did you do for our country?
I did military intelligence stuff all the way up from a private Army all the way up to a senior lieutenant in the Navy, and worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency and National Security Agency.
You worked for the NSA?
Yes, I did liaison with CIA on counter-narcotics issues on an international basis. I worked at the Pentagon some on a couple different exercises and had to go by their...
What kind of exercises? Can you talk about that?
No, just different types of exercises where they needed extra people when I was working at Defense Intelligence, and they or Navy Intel Command, and they need certain people to go over there and work an exercise for 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's
Something
interesting.
maybe is going on in the Middle East or whatever, just a makeshift conflict rises up, and then we have to go to battle stations and stuff. And the main thing I did with actually military intelligence is you actually help prevent wars by making sure that the government knows the right information, and so they can try to prevent a war, not encourage a war.
Right. You did a lot of code cracking, right?
Yeah, we didn't do targeting of enemies. We did more try to keep communications open so that everybody would know what's going on. One of the neat things I got to do was when I was in the Persian Gulf, there was almost an international incident between the United States and Bahrain because a U.S. ship had targeted an Iranian aircraft coming into Bahrain airport.
Wow.
And they denied doing it, and they launched on their target missiles, their fire control radar, which means they're just about to shoot the missile.
Right.
And
Wow.
at the last minute, they pulled off. But then they later denied doing it, the surface Navy guys, and I was able to get the information to our admiral there in Bahrain, and he was able to talk to the Bahrainis and then help avert an international incident, which was actually kind of cool, it was good.
Yeah.
And to keep communications open. So we really just help keep the information right so there weren't miscalculations, because most major wars in the world begin with miscalculations of the different nations, of the other nations' capabilities and their needs and desires and communications.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way, we actually help prevent lives from being taken instead of encouraging them. I never did anything targeting oriented that where innocent people would be. I enjoyed doing
So
that.
you just kind of did like translating back and forth between the two.
Oh, what now?
You did some translations, right, for people?
Yeah, I did some of that at the National Security Agency where we intercepted some codes with the aircraft overseas in the Mediterranean and of Syrian forces, or whether they would do something against Israel or Lebanon.
That's interesting.
In the 1980s, that was kind of cool.
How long ago was that, sir?
This is my friend Anya. Say hi.
Oh, hey,
Hi. Is it okay if we're on speakerphone?
yeah, that's cool.
Hi.
Okay,
And this is okay to record this for video for YouTube?
what now?
Is this okay to record this for video for YouTube, sir?
Yeah, well, I don't have any problem.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to hide.
Exactly. But
To see so many people here locked up in prison for 40, 50, 80, 100 years on account of they got a pound of marijuana or a pound of meth or something like that, or a conspiracy that one snitch cuts his time 20 years by saying this other guy gave him a bunch of meth to sell. And this dude has never had a sentence. I knew from Iowa got a life sentence, and he spent 3 months of his whole life in jail.
Matt, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
She wants to ask you a question, Dad. Can you hear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you. First of all, I just wanted to ask if you feel like, you were definitely involved with black operations. Is that correct?
She's kind of cutting out.
Interesting.
Right.
That happens a lot at crucial
She's
points.
asking if you were involved with Black Ops stuff at all.
Oh, no, I wasn't involved in anything like that, no.
You weren't.
Do you
Okay.
feel like there may have been something, because sometimes black ops will do cover operations where the people involved with the operations have no idea that they're actually working on a black op? Do you feel
That happens sometimes, yes.
you suspect, you have a suspicion that you think there might have been one or two things?
They're on what they call a need-to-know basis. only,
Yeah.
and they only told so much what to do. And I actually knew a person that I was locked up with who had done some of that. He'd gone into Central America on several occasions, and they went in and took certain people out, and he didn't even really know the name of the mission, or he wasn't even
Okay. We're cutting out a little bit here. We're cutting out.
They didn't know the big picture at all. They were just basically used as kind of almost assassins.
Okay, but do you suspect that?
Oh, well, she can't hear either. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're getting a little drag here. I was going to ask, do you feel though that you might have been involved with something, but you weren't sure what it was? Maybe I'm not making myself clear.
No, I don't really think so. I'd like to think that wasn't the case.
Okay, was there, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I'm very intrigued by the situation and how it interlaps with a lot of, it just doesn't seem like a coincidence to me, the situation with your family and my situation and other people in Bloomington's situation that are very strange, very bizarre, and of a very subversive, possibly Black Ops nature or CIA nature. Not necessarily. It's not restricted by geography, but it is interesting how there's a preponderance of circumstantial evidence that are.
Think that the U.S. government wouldn't do that much stuff internally to U.S. citizens? I'd like to think so.
I know they would.
But
I'm one of them. They're doing it to me. But my point is that I think that there's something here to your personal situation that connects to many more people than perhaps any of us realize directly. And Julia had told me that you suspected that there was some, or maybe I'm misinterpreting what she said to me, that there was some possible connection to the situation that happened with your family that might have been retaliation or some kind of frame, if I may, or setup.
Do you know what my mom was working on at all, Dad? At the Pentagon?
No, not really. I know that at the time she used to work for Defense Affairs Issues.
Interesting. Well, I know that's connected to Black Ops.
Yeah.
She used to work for the liaison
Yeah.
in her thing on Capitol Hill. And then she was working for a veterans thing when she came up missing. So
Yeah.
I would tend to think not, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, that's fine. I really appreciate your candor, and thank you. Is there anything else you want to say about that or anything else?
Well, no, other than I just don't. I went through 3 years being locked up and all kinds of mental torture and false accusations and lies about things.
But you're not.
Can you talk about what they did at your trials and the threatening
it was just sad. I went through a trial and they had a really relatively fair judge, Judge Lee, and then at the end of the trial he acquitted me. He basically said, in essence, that there was a lot of stuff said before trial, a lot of accusations, and virtually none of them were true.
And you
tampering with evidence.
So he was going to acquit me, and then he was mysteriously taken off the case by the Fourth Circuit at the insistence of the prosecutor's office, who was dirty to begin with. So
Yeah.
I thought that was.
Well, there's something about Bloomington that's connected to that as well. But you're currently incarcerated? Yes or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
At a
Okay.
medium institution
Okay.
in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And as a matter of fact, they tried to claim that I made threats against government officials, and that was all concocted by a jailhouse snitch who was trying to cut his time. And that gave me an extra 2 points and kept me in the federal pen penitentiary to at least 2 or 3 extra years.
It's
And
just
they put it on my record, and it wasn't even true at all, and they knew it.
okay.
And they put that into my record, and all the officials here read that, and they worry about me as a threat to them, and that could be further from the truth.
And is it possible? Is it all right to leave links to your?
And they still put it in my paperwork, and to this day, I have that in the sheets, and it's sad.
Okay, so that sounds fishy. Is it possible to leave links to any press clippings or any information about your case on the YouTube video?
Can I do what now?
Is it okay to leave information that people can look at on the internet that's connected to the video that they can go and research themselves about your personal direct case? Is it all?
If you look at my case on the divorce situation, I was the one that actually filed for divorce. There was a no-fault divorce. So I don't know how a no-fault divorce went from there to, several years later, me being the threatening person to
Murder.
people that I've never even had words with or never even...
She's asking for permission to, add links to stuff about the actual trial, though, Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Is that okay?
Is it all right?
Travesty, but yeah, I guess so. That'll help the situation. But
Yeah.
the second trial was a travesty. They used a secondhand comment by a jailhouse snitch to an FBI agent who exaggerated it on the stand, and they were too afraid to even put the jailhouse snitch on the stand because they knew his own lies. And they found out that he had done this numerous times before.
So this happened between the trials, then?
Yeah, between the trials, they basically put me in torture. They bounced me around between multiple jails in terrible situations, and they wonder why I got a little loopy mentally. It's like being a prisoner of war after 5 years. Of course, you're going to break down and say and do some things, because you just get frustrated.
Of course.
And after you were acquitted, you should have been released then, and they didn't
I should have been, and the judge initially gave me an acquittal and allowed me to go, but he allowed the government 3 days to appeal it.
And they could never prove that it was a federal case because they could never prove that the car had crossed state lines, could they?
Well, not only that, it's supposed to be interstate commerce, so it had nothing to do with commerce to begin with anyway. So that was a lie to even say interstate commerce, anything to do with crossing lines, anything to do with a kidnapping. That was all lies, and they knew that when they did the indictment.
Yeah, it should have just been a state case.
Is there any case for appeal for you, sir?
I didn't do appeal for that to go back to the same crooked judge who was there on the second trial.
Okay, well, I don't. There might be a second.
Didn't want it to keep coming up after that.
Yeah, there might be a second judge involved later that might be more open and amenable to
Judge Traxler and another judge that were...
That's a good one.
The Fourth Circuit, but Judge King was just totally adamant that anything that came in the newspaper, anything that said about O.J. Simpson or any of that stuff was somehow true, and there was Judge King once said that, and he was just totally out to lunch.
He was the same judge you had.
Biased.
Well, there's a lot of corrupt officials in your area, and
Extremely inflammatory, and the second judge knew it, and he allowed that to go.
He got cut off.
he only has so much time to talk.
Yeah, he only has.
Thank you. That's impressive. I didn't expect that at all. Thank you. I didn't know you had talked to him about this beforehand.
I didn't at all. He just called randomly.
Well, that happens a lot. That's like the second or third interview I've had where a very key figure would call in the middle of an interview I was doing, that someone was interviewing me for. That means we're synchronized. That means there's something going on. And when I was saying there's a second judge, there may be a possibility for appeal if we continue to talk about this and how it was a setup. We need to talk to the media more about this, Julia. That poor man, he has been traumatized. He does have PTSD from being in the legal system like that and the prison system, and it's not right. Whatever personal issues that the family would have, it's indirect to this kind of abuse and torture. No American citizen who should do this. So, well, perhaps we should back up a bit if we can get officially started. God, that was really dramatic. That was not, just so the other people sitting here know, this was not planned. This was absolutely spontaneous. As you know, when a person's incarcerated, it's not that easy to get a hold of someone via phone. It's like, it costs money or something, and it's not cheap. And so that was kind of a little miracle right there. That was kind of amazing. So Julia's a good daughter here. So actually, I should backtrack. I want to introduce these two people. They're dear friends. Julia Lentz, to my left, is a producer, a activist, a person who is extraordinary. She's overcome much, and that's part of the reason we're here to speak today. And she's got some very interesting connections to me and the person seated to my right, Sarah Beth Stroller, Shulk Deluri, or you could just call her Sarah Beth Stroller for short. She's an actress, a model, a real-life muse, and an activist for Free the Nipple. Hashtag Free the Nipple. Very famous. Her breasts are very famous all over the world, and I'm sure all of the Puritans watching this are going to take great offense to that, but she's got great boobs. She's got great boobs, so, if you can act, you can make it activism in the process. I love...
Free the nipple in your mind.
I love dual purpose things. It's always great when you can do that. I mean, we're having a very dramatic interview right now because that was not planned, but the father of Julia, what is his full name, dear?
J. Edward Lentz.
J. Edward Lentz, set up and framed is what the implications are from the conversations I've had with Julia and concerning, forgive me, the death of your mother.
My mother disappeared. She went missing in 1996. They found her car on the side of the road, the Virginia state line where we were living at the time, and they tried to say that he had taken it over the state lines. It was never proved, and they lost all the fingerprints that were on the car, and there was no evidence.
There's a
there was a spot of blood that got mixed up in the DNA labs that never made it in court.
And this has been. Okay, I'm getting a slight echo. That means we probably aren't alone. Hi, NSA. Hi, CIA. Hi, spooks. So, anyway, that was just to let us know they're there, because the echo's gone now.
Checking on their previous employees is what's happening.
Exactly, just snooping around. This is a tragic story. It has ruined your family, basically, literally, from the inside. You effectively were left to basically raise yourself as a result of this horrific, tragic incident. And my experience working with Find Me, which was a search and rescue operation, and how I met a mutual friend of all of yours, well, I don't know if we call him a friend, an associate, perhaps, reluctantly. I don't want to say his name on the air, but let's just call him Jose. Just as absurd. So, Jose sort of introduced us all, basically, or it was sort of like this confluence of events, because, actually, Sarah Beth knew Jose, and you were roommates with Jose, and then I was working for this fine...
Yeah, I met Jose through this work experience doing some productions through Jerry Kemp, so...
Oh, you want to say his name?
Whitney first, so...
Okay, so you want to say the full name of the individual that we're going to talk about more?
We can, it's up to you, I don't know if Jose is okay with that or not.
Maybe for legal purposes we should just keep it at first name basis now. But that's fine. I mean, we let that slip, but that's fine. I definitely wanted to use his legal first name, Jerry.
I don't think that he any.
Oh, Jerry Kemp. Yeah, fuck his ass.
Okay, this is gonna get really woo woo later, and there's a reason why.
Any names that we need to beep out, we can beep out.
Oh, I don't know how to beep out. Maybe you can.
If we can just...
Okay, you can help me with editing because you're also really good with computers and stuff. Maybe you guys can help me with editing for this. Okay, so moving forward, there's this weird confluence of how we all three know each other. I know through Sarah Beth. I did a group reading for her with a bunch of fancy people about 4 years ago, and the rest is history. I mean, she's just amazing. She's changed my life 1,000-fold for the better. She's an amazing, amazing influencer and a connector from Bloomington, Indiana. Yes, that's your hometown?
Yes.
And Julia, you are also a native of Bloomingtonian?
I was born in D.C.
D.C.?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Not so unusual. I mean, since you're a military family person, that makes sense. Arlington?
Yeah,
area?
we moved back here after my mom went missing. So.
Interesting. What was the point of you moving to Bloomington, if I might ask?
It's my dad's family lives here, so he just wanted me closer.
Interesting. Well, I don't think that's an accident. Okay,
yeah.
And we met Jose through Sarah Beth. She knew him in the Bloomington community.
His father and my mother were friends.
That's weird too, because wasn't Jose's father in the CIA?
Oh, wasn't he?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think
so. Well, Jose has told me in phone calls and conversations that there may be a military or an more intelligence-based
I know
connection.
he has Masonic roots.
Oh, heavy Masonic roots, like Scottish Rite, 33rd, 34th, 35th degree Mason. He's told me lots of crazy stuff. This guy's kind of unhinged. However, the way we all meet is through Jose, and he really took a shine to me because I'm fancy like that, and I do the clairvoyant psychic stuff. And Jose introduced me to Julia through just living together. Can you hear me? Is it getting slow?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, there's a little drag on the video with you guys. So we meet. I meet Julia. He wants me to, know you, and that's great. That's one good thing through him. I know you, and I wouldn't have known you unless he didn't introduce us. So thank him for that. So there's this component of the intelligence world with his family and the Masonic element, and I know from working with Find Me, which is a search and rescue squad thing, we did a dead body search, or a cold case homicide search, or a missing person search in Bloomington, and I immediately picked up how Masonic and evil this place was, and how, Masonic, dirty, 33rd degree and above, Scottish Masonry, Scottish Rite Masonry. Yeah, we're not talking like the guys wearing fezzes, doing local, community volunteer events. We're talking dark Masonic roots in Bloomington. And I did not like it. It was really a creepy vibe at how many people were involved in the satanic aspect of this, meaning black ritual, cover-ups, using... there was, I think, a woman who was murdered. She was a college student at the university in town, and she went drinking one night in the district, and she disappeared, and her body, I think, was never recovered, or there was...
Spear.
Yes, that was it! Lauren Spear. That's the woman I worked on the case on. And I don't think her body was ever recovered, and I actually started intuiting all kinds of crazy, weird, warped stuff that happened, and... I don't want to go into it here, but that was a very famous case that came out of Bloomington. That's how I know about the Masonic connection as well. And then Jose started doing research in the area on things and photographing things, and then crazy things started happening to him right around that time. That was about, I want to say, summer of 2011, maybe?
Yeah, it sounds right. About 3 years ago.
Lo and behold, what happens? I'm sitting over at where Sarah Beth was staying in New York, and his, at the time, girlfriend, who I guess I could say her first name, Jenny?
Yeah.
Okay. She's visiting, and I had woke up, I get all kinds of marks on my body and so forth, and crazy things happen to me, and I, maybe not 2 days prior, had woken up with a triangle bruise on my body, and I'll try and include a link to the photographs of that, and Jenny gasps out loud. She audibly made a gasp, and Sarah Beth, you were present, and she said, "Oh my God, Jose woke up with the same exact triangle bruise on his back." She shows me on her iPhone a photo, and it's this perfect, clear isosceles triangle, no mistaking. And of course, Bloomington is about, 850 miles, 900 miles away from New York City, correct? So how is this possible that people I know out of Bloomington suddenly are getting triangle bruises as well out of the middle of nowhere, that they have intelligence and military connections? The roommate of Jose is, her father is most likely framed for a murder he didn't commit, and the investigation was shabby and not done well. And then what I picked up from Bloomington, also being very heavy satanic, Scottish Rite, 33rd and degree above, heavy, tradition in that regard. It just was really creepy and not a coincidence. And then, Sarah Beth, a little bit about you. This connection, also the triumvirate starting to happen, a triangle, if you will. Ooh. She has tons of connections to people who later have CIA connections. And that's not to say that you're a mole or anything or an informant, because, in the paranoia conspiracy community, everyone thinks everyone's an agent and disinfo and everything. No, actually, you're this fantastic connector. You make things happen. You introduce people to people. That's your thing. That's your recipe book of just making great connections for people. And that's it. It's pure altruistic. It's not an ulterior motive. Can you confirm today that you are not a Satanist or a member of the Black Cabal or the Illuminati?
I am not a Satanist.
Thank you. Neither am I. Neither is Julia.
I come in peace. I'm here to help.
Thank you.
I think this could be
Kawaii.
That's my mission statement.
I come in kawaii. Cute. So we're all here in this weird conundrum because time and time again, I've hung out with Sarah Beth, and some weird synchronicity would happen. We also know someone, and I feel comfortable saying his name because he needs the press, and I want to. He's one of my dear friends as well, Johnny Dark, who is a musician, a brilliant artist, a brilliant musician, a brilliant raconteur. The man, also unfortunately, and I think he's pretty open about this, has been, again, a long host of people that I know who are young men or brilliant geniuses who were in different versions of Project Talent, including Aaron McCollum, who was one of my abductors in a military abduction. And yes, I'm not going to go into that now. You can look on my blog, AnyaIsAChannel.blogspot.com. You can read all about it. Unfortunately, the interview that I did with him where he admits that he abducted me in my life, conveniently enough, keeps disappearing every time it's posted. So, obviously, and the MP3 file disappears off my computer, and the download disappears, and I'm never able to post it.
You got to get this. We got to transfer certain things to analog.
Or to secret locations.
This digital is just too vulnerable.
It really is.
Every time I have anything interesting,
it really is. And Sarah Beth is, she attracts these elements into her life because she's gorgeous, as you can tell. And some of them are brilliant, and some of them are really subversive. And because we hang out with really fancy people, we're in film and the entertainment industries and blah, 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 and all that. And that's not something to be impressed by. But what's impressive about Sarah Beth is that she knows how to synthesize this and turn it into spiritual component. She's here to uplift mojo everybody, as all of the people present are. And we're not here to deceive anyone. We're not deceivers. So we just have to establish this because...
we are opposed to deceit and cunning.
We oppose... Right, like the...
Not cunnilingus.
I don't oppose
not
that.
Cunning linguists.
We are cunning linguists, but we don't oppose cunnilingus. But we oppose deceit, and we're not liars. I'm a terrible liar, as you guys probably know. I don't lie, as a matter of course. I don't consciously lie, at least. Obviously, there's always that room for, our own self-deception and any, little peripheral things we might be missing. But we're not doing it consciously. We're not doing it intentionally. Just have to establish that. Okay, so what these seemingly disparate things... Actually, they don't seem seemingly disparate to me. They seem very connected. The corruption in Bloomington that put your father in jail unjustly, the satanic component that I know has to do with ritual sacrifice, using a lot of Bloomington students actually at the University of Indiana or Indiana University?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's weird because my mother was an alma mater of Bloomington as well, which is interesting. Just these weird continual spirals of connections. So the triangle bruise I want to talk about is also probably connected to your dad being framed, believe it or not, Julia. Most likely framed. We have to allow, allegedly, just so we aren't, stepping on any legal toes or anything like that. But it sounds like, from what I've heard and what I've been listening to, that there was some corruption going on that probably did not get your father the fairest and speediest trial imaginable. I feel like this makes us safe because you have also experienced a lot of harassment. Would you say you're a targeted individual, Julia?
I would say that I am probably on a list somewhere, yes.
I know you are, yeah.
I have done a lot of research into this, and I have had a lot of strange people come into my life that would not have come into my life.
Which brings us to the topic of this Jerry guy. The housing arrangements you had with Jose, this guy, that was very interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about the incident where you had the woman show up out of nowhere, bloodied and battered, and what the context for that was?
I actually was not around for that, and
okay.
I have to clarify here, I did not live with Jose before I met Jerry.
Okay.
But the girl that did experience that incident was the one who introduced me to Jose, and then through there.
And is it okay? Great.
But she knows him as well. She's kind of like the socialite of Bloomington.
This is where it gets truly woo-woo and weird. So is this not the socialite who lived in that house with Jose at the time, who you later were roommates with? You were roommates with Jose at one point, right? Until very recently. So is this not true, or is it true that in fact this woman claimed that this Jerry fellow started telepathically speaking with her?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm getting corroboration and confirmation on.
I told her that he could take her back to 50 years ago or 50 years in the future and looked her in the eye, and she said she just received all this telepathically from him.
And would you say there's a level of mind control in this woman's life as well, knowing what you know?
Yes, definitely. And he is ex-CIA, Jerry is, and he has worked with the Rockefellers. There's a picture in his office with David Rockefeller. He's worked with the Jacksons and several other people, and he's very connected in this underground world. He's shown up at Jose's house with a gun before threatening people, and is just very all around just dark. Like she said, after that happened, she just saw his eyes go black, and she knew he was a shapeshifter, and he's like 7 years old and was trying to like put the moves on her and just all this weird stuff. Like he's just this very wizardy and gross.
Well, and I can confirm this about Jerry, and we can include a link to photographs of this man with David Rockefeller, as well as photographs of him over the years. And I call him a chimera, and I'll get into that in a second. That he actually is a shapeshifter. But that it would have been weird enough just with that story that you just relayed, except I was on the train in New York City, and in New York City we have things called subways, so when I say train, I don't mean like, Amtrak, I mean the subway car, the D train in my case, and I got on the train, and this very tall black man wearing a cowboy hat and a black fringed sort of cowboy jacket that seems suede, all in black. I had seen him once on the, about 2 months prior, just standing, wearing the same cowboy hat, similar type of outfit. He had a definite presence. His presence and energy was unmistakable, and he stood out. And he was really tall when I saw him, but we'll later talk about this in a second. And I'd never seen this man before in my life, at least consciously. And I'm walking on the Times Square platform at Fifth Avenue on the East Side train. So I was on the 4-6 platform going downtown. I think I had to go to Union Square. And he's just standing there, and I just noticed him. I felt his energy. It was very strong. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a psychic. I pick up things. I pick up energy. I see arc fields, and I feel things magnetically. I feel bioenergetic fields, and they do have sort of some people who are extremely psychic will give off almost a magnetism, and it's not an accident when people say the term, he was magnetic, because there is a bioenergetic element to that. But that's just an aside. So this guy had a definite presence. Then flash forward 2 months later, couldn't have been more than 2 months later. I don't know the exact date. The same guy gets on the train I'm on. I'm sitting down at the end of the other side of the car, and he's standing against a pole, or has his hand there, just studying himself as the train moves. And he immediately starts speaking telepathically to me. And believe it or not, this is not the first time that has happened, but it was other people who looked very military.
It's the same person?
Yes.
It was the same goddamn guy. It was the same man.
I started talking about it to her, and then we started looking at the pictures.
I flipped out because she never told me that before this happened. I didn't know Julia when these incidents happened. We've only known each other in the last year or so. This happened as I said, that also happened, I think, in 2011, thereabouts.
Oh, wow.
Early part, up until about the spring. I think this happened when the weather was warmer, like May or June, but I can't remember the exact date. So this guy's telepathically telling me, and I said, are you one of my bodyguards? Because my guides had told me when I started waking up, and you guys know the backstory on that. I talked to aliens or whoever, synthetic telepathy. I'm talking to the army who's making me think it's aliens. I don't know. But they gave me, whoever did this to me to make me be able to be telepathic, probably is connected or linked to the same people who made me be able to not stop doing psychic readings for people. And maybe the Army or whoever, ONI, FBI, CIA, or all of the above, or some shadow agency, NORAD, who knows, connected to the Army, black projects, whatever, did something to make me be able to telepathically speak with certain people. And the 3D telepathy that I have with people when I'm in real time is something different, and 9 times out of 10 it usually has to do with military types. And this guy's standing at the end of the car, and he's saying, I asked him telepathically, are you one of my bodyguards? And he said something like that. And at the time I was like kind of uneasy, like I wasn't 100% convinced that this guy was, you know, there for my best interest, but at the same time I was like, well, good, okay, I guess I feel protected now or something. And he had this smirk on his face, and he was like really sure of himself. And he just had a weird energy, and he never directly came up to me. He never spoke to me verbally. And then I think I got off first. I just got the hell off the train, and it was really weird. And then I don't think he...
So already had a bad feeling about him from the get-go.
Well, it was strange. I was on the fence at that time. But then, flash forward a year and a half or so, I'm having a conversation. And this is why I say there are no accidents, there are no coincidences. People come into my life who are supposed to come into my life, as I'm sure this has happened to you. Sarah Beth, it happens all the time. She's very psychic as well. You guys are very intuitive. We're all telepathic in that regard. There's different forms of telepathy as well. And one form of telepathy is that Sarah Beth will often, always, like, text me when I'm having a bad day and she doesn't know it, or, you know, emotionally she's very connected with me. So we are constantly, like, the timing is always, like, boom, boom, boom. And with, you know, people I'm emotionally connected to, I tend to be very telepathic with. And there is some evidence in mainstream science for that. They've proven telepathy is real, but... You know, atheists and skeptics still want to go on and on about how that's fake, but there's tons of repeatable tests you can do to prove that telepathy is real. So I'm not so blown away by the fact that I'm having this telepathic conversation with this guy in 3D real time on the car. What really blew me away is the corroboration of the story that you had of this, no doubt, mind-controlled woman who said she was telepathically speaking. Had she had any... Let me ask you this, Julia. Had she ever had... any other incidences of telepathy with anyone else in her life?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that suggests to me that some kind of technology's been put in her head then.
Yeah,
or is being used.
She's a very good friend of mine, so yeah, there's like weird whispering, like...
Oh yeah, that's gang stalking, that's organized gang stalking, and that's another aspect of it. They take technology and they take the occult. I mean, I will like hear periodically like... people, chorus of voices saying "Hail Satan" in my head sometimes, and that's fairly recent. So I know there's an occult element to this, and I know that the Army's involved somewhat, and I know they're
I just met a guy the other day that's also a Mason. He said the whole book is coded. He said he would show it to me sometime. It's like all in a different code. It's not in
above the capstone, 33rd degree and above. What book is
32nd, he said.
Okay, so the Scottish Rite, you're saying, or what? Yeah. Is that what is the book called? Do you know?
No, I don't know what it's called, but...
Okay. I personally believe that there may even be looking glass technology that's being used where they knew that your father was going to be framed for some reason because it's connected to black projects having to do with mind control. And let's get to this point. Gene splicing of weird DNA into people like us in a Rockefeller Foundation experiment that has to do with you most likely, and me. And Sean, somebody I know named Sean. He'd probably get pissed off at me. I said it. Well, no, he doesn't really care anymore, but whatever. I give him too much PR anyway, and he never talks about me, so whatever. No, he talked about me on Coast to Coast AM, so I got a little press out of that, so that was nice. He, like, saves it up for the big, you know, fish. So that's good. And he's doing something now that's really cool. He's working on a really cool film project. But I think there's a lot of people we know who are involved with this. I don't think it's an accident that we know the people we know, like Johnny Dark. It's not an accident that one of the farms of two boyfriends you have, I'm not going to say his, or maybe, no, I don't think he wants to have his full name. but somebody who you know, who has is it upstate New York, the farm?
Are you talking to me or Julia?
I'm talking to you right now, Sarah Beth.
Oh, well, I don't have boyfriends up there. But
Okay, I know that's you like free and easy, free the nipple. But what I mean
the
is,
thing is, like my Uncle Charlie friend, Charlie Wessler. He's not like a boyfriend. He's like
no. That there was some connection to one of the guys whose initials are BR, and his father was in the CIA, wasn't he?
No, that's in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, excuse me.
His father was a really radicalized activist, anti-war demonstrator from the 60s, you know. I don't know exactly. I mean, Johnny thinks that he was connected with the CIA. He was a major party boy, had tons of parties out at this kind of, what do you call it? But the farm in Pennsylvania was...
We're not talking about the farm in Quantica or whatever. We're not talking about the company. We're not talking about the FBI farm. The company's the CIA. The farm is the training center. Let's be clear. Just to clarify.
People tend to get together and share ideas and come up with new ideas.
Okay,
so
I'm referring...
Okay, so there's a think tank in Pennsylvania on
Yep.
the side of the mountain, and it's been that way for a long time. It was built by his grandmother or great-grandmother or something, and they had put they built a pool with stones and spring-fed, and they wanted children to come there and learn stuff. And anyway, he had, I think his grandfather was in the Navy in World War II. His father was somehow had been involved with the Army or the Navy, I don't know. But he was definitely a major protester and very well connected and had a lot of smart people coming and going. And the Forever family, the cult that Johnny joined when he was investigating...
Don't say the name of the actress, but...
I won't, but
go ahead.
When he was investigating, you know, bio-warfare being used on American people, basically by the American government. Okay, it was called the Forever Family, and the Forever Family cult got started originally at a think tank out at Ben's, family's farm in Pennsylvania. Right. And there's all these other very
and there is a clear connection to handlers in the CIA who are very famous, well-known household name actresses. I know personally, out of the blue, independently, this actress called me up one day and asked to hire me for a group reading, and she was very strange. She acted like a dominatrix. She was very demanding, and this woman used to be married to a many-time Oscar-nominated actor. I want to say her name so bad because I really was shocked and disappointed, but she used to be in this cult with Johnny on this farm in Pennsylvania. That is not the farm for FBI training in Quantica or whatever.
Why don't you just say her name before she became her stage name?
I don't know her name before her stage name.
Oh, Johnny knows. I always forget it. It's
But she was very strange, and I don't think that was an accident that she called me up out of the blue. This was also. I want to tell you one thing about this actress. Johnny told me all about this actress being in this cult and having conversations with her, and she said, "What do you want to do, Johnny?" And he'd tell her, and then she'd say, I want to join the CIA. I want to be in the CIA." And then there were all these weird...
Well, she told him, the first thing that she said to him, as far as I remember, is that she said, you've been a problem company. And he
for the
said,
company,
oh.
yeah.
He said, why? And she said, because you're considered to be very important, but you're difficult to control.
Yeah. Well, no wonder we all know each other. I know Johnny. I'm difficult. So, so she's a handler for probably the most famous actor, actually, who's... my friend who I just named earlier's dad wrote a screenplay for, and this guy was the lead actor. And I'm not going to say... This gets really elaborate at the end. It's total gossip, but it's like gossip with a twist. It's like really dark Black Project gossip. Like
it's
really...
like out of the question on the IQ test right now. It's like, can you identify?
I know, it's like blind item. Blind item. And I want to say the name so fucking bad, but I can't. So there's this link, and it's like this labyrinthian but connection of mazes that often interlap with one another. And I've been waiting for like 200 years for you guys to get on the screen with me and just confirm this craziness, because people just constantly want to tell me I'm nuts, and it's like I couldn't make this up if I tried. these connections. And I believe firmly that the CIA is involved with all of us. And I want to get back to the gene splicing that I think's been going on. It's a phased genetic trial. If you
Can I mention something really quickly?
Yeah.
Speaking of Jose and cults, so there was another roommate that came into this house at some point that we all lived at, and she actually has told me somewhat privately, but I'm not going to mention her name. She was a basically experiment. Her family was part of a cult from a very young age, and she was born on July 22nd, which is the end of the cremation of care in Bohemian Grove.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. I told you about this, Anya. And she said, we started talking about this because I was just looking at, like, weird, like...
Yeah, I remember this girl. But she lived in that house with Jose, too?
What?
She lived in that house with Jose as well at one point?
Yes.
Not an accident.
Yes.
Not an accident. This guy he's told me, Jose has told me many times that he's convinced there's a CIA connection to it. Now, see, here's the thing. I also believe we're all kind of in a mind control phase genetics trial. I don't believe those triangle bruises are an accident. I don't believe the fact that you lived with Jose, who has the triangle bruise, and I have the triangle bruise, is an accident. And then let's talk a bit about Sarah Beth starting to get marks on her body. She got what I call a hole punch mark on her ankle.
God, one of the weirdest things that ever happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
I was laid back, relaxing, doing a self-portrait. I had a mirror, and I was drawing a self-portrait, and I was thinking, wow, it's been years since I've drawn a self-portrait, you know? And then all of a sudden, so I'm in a crisp state of mind, and all of a sudden, I get this telepathic message that just directs my attention to my ankle. It's like, look here. And I looked down at my ankle, and I saw this little wound appear, and then this squiggle go up my leg, which ended up leaving a little line of bruises.
Yeah.
And I took a bunch of pictures of it. It wasn't like anything I'd ever seen. It didn't itch, didn't hurt. And when I got really close, I could see that it had this bizarre geometry to it. Like, it was like a hexagram, and then inside it had 6 little dots. And then inside, it was really weird.
Well, and here's the thing. I looked at mine closer. It looks more like a pentagram, but it's basically the same thing. I had 2 of those sores, I called them sores, on each scapular muscle, equidistant to each other. And that appeared about a year before my testimony at the bioethics, the Presidential Commission for the Study on Bioethics. This is why I believe, listen, the Rockefeller connection keeps coming up again and again and again with me and my friend Sean, as well as, what's this, Jerry. So for you, and I personally believe we're all MyLabs. I personally believe that we are being taken to underground facilities, that our mothers were imprinted with something or subliminally given something, and whether this is, there might be some like E.T. first, and then comes the spooks later to look into this, and take, never let a opportunity go to waste. But that there is something in us that our spirit is stronger than most of the monarch, like, I don't consider us monarch slaves, I don't consider us, super soldiers, I don't consider us any of that. I think we're something else. I think, and we're not like so special and unique, but what I mean is, you guys don't have the sociopathy of super soldiers that I've met. You don't have the narcissism. You don't have the DID. You guys are mentally strong.
Have you met any female super soldiers?
I was telling you. Well, I was telling you.
And there's always
this girl was that.
Yeah. She might have been.
No.
She's in Black Ops. Yeah.
But also,
we don't know, therefore aliens.
So we get conscripted before we're even born because of our families. We get conscripted. We get conscripted before we're even born, and then sometimes, I think more than one of our mothers, I'm pretty sure my mom, this happened to as well, got injected with something when we were in the womb that literally spliced our DNA and made us different. And that's why I called Jerry a chimera, because he was like an earlier version 1.0 of us. Except they tweaked him with so much DNA that he literally can alter his physical appearance. And if you look at the photographs of this guy, you will see that he dramatically alters his appearance. But back to what I was saying about mind control programs with us, the programming probably didn't take with us. Like I intuited with you, Sarah Beth, something happened between the ages of 3 and 5 on a regular basis with you, and you confirmed that for me. Is that true?
Yes.
Thank you. Get another confirmation, because people want to say, you're so crazy, Anya. You're making this up, Anya. It's all fake. And then they're going to say, oh, we're corroborating on a lie.
Confirm that at the age of 4, I had repeated, almost daily dreams sometimes. nights, when I went to bed, it would start out, my sleep cycle would start out with me, like, being in a sort of dream state, very crisp state, getting up, walking through, almost seemed like black hyperspace, and then getting into a chair that was, like, ivory colored, strapping a bunch of straps, and then
that's not
going
normal.
off into outer space, and that's how my night would start. I got used to it. You get used to pretty much anything, but I don't have, like, recallable memories of anything else from those dreams, you know.
Okay, well, I want to say that, like, the Rockefeller Foundation has basically been running our lives, and telepathically, I think we all met each other. We were drawn to each other. We had that magnetic pull. Julia, do you feel like there's anything, have you ever had psychic experiences, paranormal synchronicities, any, like, timing issues that were really interesting? Telepathy, anything like that?
I thought that the whole thing with Jose and the other girl that I was just telling you about was very odd, because I had first met her through a boy that I was involved with, not like maybe 4 years ago or something, and he says that he was an Illuminati fucking baby child too, which he never told me, but he somehow told her about this. He's also like a extreme liar, so I don't know if he just...
No, is he from Bloomington, though? Was he born in Bloomington? Okay,
yeah,
I can believe it.
And so that's how I met her before I ever met Jose, and it was just all a very weird coincidence of how we're all involved. I mean, I've lived here all my life, and I've never seen these people before, and they all came into my life within, like, a short period of
It's
time.
almost like you were conscribed to be a witness to truly high, strange stuff.
Yes.
It's almost like your soul contract, or whatever you want to call it, when you came into this world was, okay, maybe I'm not going to be psychic in the sense of, like, the traditional, like what I do, but, like, I'm going to bear witness to all of this, and it's going to be snowballing.
Yeah,
and snowballing.
I also talked to one of our other weirdos in Bloomington.
Of which there are many.
Yes. Mike, and he has said that I do have a very intense intuitive connection. He does a lot of energy work and stuff. And
oh yeah, you do have an intuition that is like very raw, guttural, gut intuitive.
Yeah, he said if I worked on it more.
You have a magnet in your stomach. You have a magnet in your stomach that guides you towards things.
Stronger as you go through life.
Yeah, I'm sure I probably do have some kind of government block, and that's what I was telling you, Anya, about my head thing when I went through the fucking what are they called?
That's right. Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, then that is more corroboration than I think. You probably are involved with a phase genetics trial as well, and they're monitoring all of us in that regard. And I want to try and, you know, the Rockefeller Foundation, they're connected to Standard Oil. That's the Rockefellers. Guess what Standard Oil did during the war, Daddy? They funded Joseph Mengele's experiments on children in the concentration camps. And they love twins, and they love genetics trials. And the Rockefellers are obsessed with genetics. They are literally obsessed. And I've been to the Rockefeller estate, and in Sleepy Hollow, New York, which I think is great, the Headless Horseman town. And it's this big, creepy mansion that looks exactly like every horror movie creepy mansion you've ever seen. And I've stood right outside the gates and screamed something at them. I'm sure they got it on tape. And, you know, told them their time is up. And I think this also corresponds with all of these things that are happening with the Vatican coming down, with all of the sex things. Because this is, you can't, we've had weird, it totally is, and we've all had weird sexual things happen to us. We've had weird trauma. Well, I can't speak for you about the sexual stuff, but I know me and Sarah Beth have, totally. And, the commenters on YouTube are going to love that. And, you know, I bet you have. But it is weird, and it is, I think, connected to trauma and power and control and mind control. And we're just too damn strong. That's the thing. We're too fucking strong.
I was very...
And they hate that.
I was, like, very overly sexualized when I was, like, very young, like, when I was 5. So I wonder if there was some suppressed stuff. I wanted to get, like, hypnosis.
Well, there may have been something that happened. I would be... Okay, because there's this link here where something happened between the ages of 3 and 5 with me. of a very dramatic medical and scientific nature in a recovered memory that I received. And if it's not real, then it was a planted memory. If it's a planted memory, why is it there? Because I'm not making it up and I'm not hallucinating. So it's there for a very important reason, and I don't think it's disinfo, because I know too many things happening with all the other people in our circles, in the Bloomington circles specifically, but also in the New York circles where I live currently, that have to do with the CIA again and again and again and again. And then, of course, we know, like, rock stars and fancy people whose, like, fathers were killed by Manchurian candidates and so forth. So that's sort of omnipresent and influencing and infiltrates in our social network very easily and continually. So, what's the end game here, ladies? Like, what do you think their end game is for doing a phased genetic study of, like, what I think is spliced alien DNA, quite honestly? I don't think you're from here, Sarah. I mean, obviously you were born on terra firma, but I certainly was told I'm not 100% human, and I, had enough weird stuff that I've done that kind of proves it.
I think that all humans have extraterrestrial DNA. I think we're a hybrid race.
Yeah.
And in terms of, like, the end game for whatever experiments are going on, I mean, my mind is so blown with, like, huge philosophical meandering. I actually don't think it's ever going to end. I think the universe is just going to continue studying itself from whatever angle possible forever. So,
well, you're hilarious because you laugh at these guys, and I'm, like, sitting there, like, crumbling sometimes, sobbing.
Against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand.
Yeah, you're really strong, so they really don't know what to do with you. But
I think they probably think I'm funny.
You are fun. Well, they think I'm funny too. I'm constantly telling them to fuck off, and they think it's, like, surprising because I'm not cowering in fear over something. But and you too, Julia. Like, you have that same thing.
Listen to Jim Sparks talk about his abduction experience. It took place over, like, a 17-year period. He said the reason that he got so involved with he was getting abducted by semi-biological gray aliens, and then he he said he wasn't scared at all. Everybody would get scared and pass out, but he would be, like, cursing them out and everything.
That's what I do.
Because he was so angry, they were interested in him, so they brought him to the biological grays, which are around 5 feet tall. And he was, like, all pissed off at them, too. And so then they started, actually, it went on for years, and he became friends. And then it turned out he met the people that they were working for, which were apparently semi-reptilian or whatever. But one of my favorite stories was where he said they had left him in the room with the semi-biological automatonic small gray aliens that are programmed to just collect DNA here, right? And he was so pissed off at them that he was, like, calling them all kinds of names, like, and swearing at them and everything he could think of. And then at the end he goes, and you don't even know you exist.
I love that story, too.
And then they all glitched out, right?
They freaked out.
The guys walked in the room and they said, telepathically to him, they said, don't say that to them. Like,
yeah, they can't. It's meta. It's like waiting for Godot for them. They have to suddenly realize that they're...
Listening to his interview was like watching a great movie.
I'm going to watch that.
Well, then I worry about Jim Sparks, too, because I like him a lot, but I often wonder about the veracity of, like, what he's experiencing, because the CIA is really good at mind control. They really are. They've got it down to a science, and...
all I know is he tells a mean story. Like,
yeah, he does. He's a raconteur, too.
In Hollywood.
Yeah, he's great. I love him. And I'm
also a witness. I've seen that, that round ship with the band of light bouncing through the sky.
Well, you filmed UFOs.
I have corroborators.
Yeah, well, we have also I'm here to say Sarah Beth photographed some wicked photographs of UFOs on the Pleiadian alignment on May 20th, 2011. Yeah. And it was great. Or no, 2012. 2012. And it was like the 20...
right before the end
She took these amazing photographs. Unfortunately, I've only downloaded...
I met Jerry that year as well.
You what?
I met Jerry that year, too.
Oh, that's interesting.
You were the last one.
I met everybody that year.
See, I want to... Maybe we can do another interview at some point more in depth about that connection, because I don't feel like Jerry is an accident that he comes into your life. He met you at a bar, right? Supposedly randomly. And if he doesn't have his orders to be sent to you, there's probably that guttural telepathic signal that we all give off anyway. It takes one to know one,
Spirit cluster thing. Yeah. That spirit cluster, soul clusters, how, like, whether don't plan it in this lifetime. It's sort of predetermined outside of time in another dimension. But that like a lot of souls will cluster together in incarnation after time, like at different times in history.
Absolutely.
So it's like being in a class with 30 other kids that are in your class.
Well, they're saying a lot of things now. I just sent a study to Sean, actually, because people are always saying, yes, Sean, who has no last name.
I know 4 Seans, and I consider them now to be the 4 Seans of the apocalypse.
It's true, because they kind of are. It's funny because yeah. So I sent this article today. I found this article that says that friends might actually be distant relations, and that they pick up on cues that friends give off, and why they're attracted to who they're attracted to might be that they are distantly related. And in fact, they did this study, and more often than not, there was a 1% differential that was genetically, that's considered incredibly significant. That if you that good friends are more likely to be like 4th cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying, oh God, you look like siblings, which I thought was really funny. Like when you look at Sean S. and me. It's funny. But I just laughed out loud because I think there is some genetic component to this as well. But if we've been spliced with some kind of alien freakazoid thing, maybe that allows us to attract the freakazoid, alien element as well. And that who knows how many thousands of people they might be doing this to. Like in underground bases, it's like the sky's the limit. There's $8 trillion missing from the black budget since 1996. Where does it go? And then they put it in private companies.
About $1 trillion.
What was that? You think that's big? How about a trillion?
You think $1 billion is cool? How about $1 trillion?
No, I said $8 trillion.
The social network.
Oh, right, exactly. Like you ain't no billionaire, please. Add a T, then we're talking. But no, but it's all missing, and everybody's just kind of got their thumb up their ass, going, well, I don't know if this goes into spying on and abducting citizens who are private citizens who have no connection to this other than you don't like them. Like my family has all kinds of connections to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the World Court and Globalist, the globalist agenda. And they don't like my family for that reason, and they targeted my family for that reason, for a number of reasons. And this is just sort of scratching the surface. This interview is really just kind of a Whitman sampler of the high strangeness and the coincidences and how we know who we know. And it's too specific for me.
It's like Lord of the Rings meets the Matrix all day, every day.
Lord of the Rings. I would say more like Star Wars, but yeah.
Star Wars meets the Matrix.
I'm a Jedi, man. I'm a Jedi. Oh, and then there's that weird Jedi guy who I don't want to talk about, who I don't like, who I think is a fraud and works for the military. In Bloomington, who claims he's starting like a Jedi society or a Jedi cult or a Jedi.
Yes, we know him.
He's a handler. He's like monitoring. He's been sent to, just taking notes on my little people who come to me, And of course, Jose introduced me to this guy and wanted me to go on stage with him at this Woodstock 45th anniversary thing that kind of fell apart.
Apparently the tickets are on sale now. It's actually happening, but Jose doesn't have control over the
venue
or the booking.
They're going to turn it into a giant yoga retreat, which is not what Woodstock is about. Woodstock is about drugs and fucking and music and Jimi Hendrix and
partying and having
a good time and listening to really good music, and nobody who's organizing that. They have horrible taste in music. They don't even like music, so I don't want to be part of that. But anyway, anywho, that's all I had to say for now. I'm sure there's going to be 20 things I had in mind that were going to come up after this, but I'm so glad. And I know we didn't get to talk in depth about what you've gone through, Julia, and maybe we could do like a point by point if you want to do that, or I can submit something on my blog afterwards. Like maybe we could do a phone call or something and I could put an audio file.
Yes. Sure.
If you want to do that. But this was just an overview of all of the weird things that have happened to us that keep happening in the same concentric circles over and over. If you were to take like one of those, you put the pin in and what is it called? I'm so right brain. No, not the pendulum. The It's like you draw circles with it. You stick the
Venn diagram, and then they overlap.
compass. No, maybe not a compass, but you use it to draw. Maybe it's called that. I can't remember.
You use a compass to see what direction you're facing, and there's a compass for drawing.
Right,
circles.
compass for drawing circles is what I mean. The metal object with the pencil, right? So if you can't, it's one thing to draw one circle, but then to keep drawing the same circle to the point where the paper rips and the pencil tip breaks is like ridiculous. And this is just a confirmation for me from all of this weirdness that I wanted to put on film and just say, yes, we're not making this up. This is true. And I want to talk more in depth as time permits in the future for finding out more about this Rockefeller Foundation thing, because I think it's connected. I think it's connected to the Nazis. I've had more than ample evidence that Nazi geneticists, eugenicists, whatever, are connected to all of this New World Order shit and underground bases and so forth. And it's just very depressing. But talking about it is taking the power back, and then doing something about it is really the ultimate empowerment. But just like staying in fear and I think that Providence is allowing us to do this, because you have no idea how many times the interviews I've done have been interrupted, and I believe that there's been some equilibrium established after a period of time where I was physically being attacked. Sarah Beth can attest to this for like a week straight. I wrote about it on my blog with a stupid fucking thing in my tooth that nobody can seem to tell me what it is, including Roger Lear and like literally a radiologist, 10 scientists.
That is corroborated publicly. Didn't he sign a thing?
Yeah, he signed an affidavit. President Obama is supposed
for more.
Yeah, President Obama's seen it. He's seen the affidavit, he's seen the evidence, he's seen the dental x-rays. God. And again, they act like this stuff was resolved in 95 when the U.S. government officially apologized for human experimentation on people in the 50s and 60s or whatever. And it's not even MK Ultra. This is like medical experimentation. We're talking about like Tuskegee, Alabama, when they injected syphilis in a bunch of black men and didn't tell them. And plutonium. They injected plutonium in private citizens in Rochester, New York, upstate. And they didn't tell them. For like 20 years, they were like injecting them with plutonium to see what the effects would be. And most of the people in charge of those black projects were probably Nazi scientists and Nazi doctors who were in Operation Paperclip. No question in my mind, that's some fucked up Nazi doctor stuff. And if it's not, they might as well be Nazis because they're traitors to the human race. So this has to be discussed. This has to be talked about. As I gather more data, I'm going to keep you guys informed. Maybe we can do another round table or something. And
back to New York, we can do it.
Totally.
I would love that.
Are we approaching the end of our interview at this point?
I think we're tying things up a bit. I think we've got a word from our sponsors coming through.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Right. If you could get that in triplicate, that'd be great. Yeah. So if you guys have to go, if you get Nancy to do something.
I've got a back
All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much. You're so beautiful and wonderful human beings.
That was miraculous.
Yeah, thanks so much.
That was amazing. And I'm going to just... I can send the files to you on a large file server, and you can take a look at it.
Let's do it.
And maybe if you...
We can even put subtitles on parts where we feel like we need to go on and more.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't even know if the public is going to even be able to make any sense of this. This was just like verbal diarrhea. But I was like, and then this thing happened, and then this thing, and listen, nobody believes me. Yeah, whatever. But I had to commit this to film.
That's my final word.
All right. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Thank you, Julia.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care. We'll keep in touch.
Okay. You too, lady.
Bye.
How do I end this thing?
Oh, I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
Bye.